Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Just making sure that my sound is all up to par before I do this presentation. So, good morning, family. Welcome to our monthly virtual interactive conference for July 2026. Theme: Africa and Caribbean nations created a 19-point framework for reparations, Side A. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbie. Please hit that like button, share, and subscribe to my YouTube page, ladies and gentlemen. I am the founder, president, and CEO of GERCAM, the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. I created this platform in order for us to discuss cultural issues, political issues, and social issues using an Afrocentric perspective. Okay. So I'd like for everyone that's coming in to this live stream, please share it with your friends and all that good stuff. Let the family know that, hey, we're here. Because I'd like to have your input. Really appreciate that. If you would share the link with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. Ladies and gentlemen. I interview activists, authors, entrepreneurs, and musicians. I also created this platform in order to recruit brave and smart Black Americans beyond Chicago, as well as brave and smart African immigrants across the United States of America from 10 African nations: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. Truth be told, I am unable to reach Black Americans due to this slave mentality within Black society. And so that's what I'm against. And so that's what I'm called to do, to come against that slave mentality, work with Black Americans that want more out of life, and expand this my business over to the African continent. But we're gonna have to get it popping here first in America for credibility. So Black Americans today, I'm gonna say ever since the end of the civil rights era, have become Americanized and have developed a narcissist type of attitude, as well as have taken on the colonizers' ways. For 34 years, I'm going to say that again, 34 years, I have been reaching out to Black Americans, specifically Black Chicagoans, in real life, as well as online. A majority of them tell me that they're not interested in my vision and plan to help improve our social conditions within the low-income Black community. I decided to create this platform to get my message out there loud and clear beyond Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Trying to get my message out there across the United States of America and around the globe. I'm trying to connect with other like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants. First, on a domestic front, and that means within the United States, and also on an international front, and that means our global family, our global African family on the continent, in Europe, Canada, throughout the Caribbeans, and again throughout the continent. My message is for you all. All I'm asking you to do for me, please help me get my ebook on the bestsellers list. Quote, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, and Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, second edition. It's available on Amazon in two forms, as an ebook for $9.99 or as a softcover book for $15 plus shipping and handling. I provide my Amazon author page in the comment section below this audio podcast. This will help put me in a better position financially, so that way I can hire Black people, African people, and others. If you live in North America, and if you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, specifically Black Chicago, then you will automatically become a GERCAM member. I would encourage you to get behind our film project and help us raise $250,000 through our crowdfunding sites, which are these are the ones we use: GoFundMe, Buy Me a Coffee, and PayPal Giving Fund. We use crowdfunding because we want everybody to know exactly where the money will be going. Our objective is to build the best Black Christian business within the United States of America, and that is the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. We're going to build it from the mud. In layman terms, we're going to build it from the ground up. If you are Black American and identify as DAS-FM, Descendants of American Slaves / Freedmen, then this business is for you and your immediate family. Before I cut and run to Africa, I want to make sure that we get this business up and running in America first for credibility. I don't want to come to Africa empty-handed. I want to bring economic tangibles in the form of job creations for GERCAM members and their families, as well as for the locals. But I'm going to look out for GERCAM members first, because that's my calling, to help those. But yeah, that's why I need you to read my story. And I'm only responsible, again, for GERCAM members. Those that's not a part of us, we will pray for them. We will show them tough love, and we will keep it moving. Because I don't want to spend another 34 years, being stagnant. That's not cool at all. That's unacceptable. And Global African family, if you're serious about me bringing my Christian business over to the continent, then doggone it, stand up. Help me get my book on that bestsellers list, so that way I can be in a position to hire qualified Black middle class professionals, qualified African immigrants within the United States. If you're serious about being on the panel on Saturday, July 25th, you would need to send me your email address to my Facebook inbox, my Instagram inbox, LinkedIn inbox, TikTok inbox, or my X inbox. So that way I can email you specific instructions about getting on the show. You would need to open up the PDF file so that you can read the proposal. It's about 3 to 4 pages long. After I finish my presentation, then I'm going to turn the show over to the panelists, which is called Side B. After they share their perspectives about this proposal, then we will drop the StreamYard link in the chat room, open up the discussion for Q&A in real time. So if those of you that's camera shy, you can just neither cover up your camera, or you can just do a voice call. Now, if you do not know how to use StreamYard, shame on you. Like I said, I give everybody every month, I give you a whole, 3 weeks to practice with me. I'm saying I'm willing to teach you how to use StreamYard. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know how to use StreamYard, then you can't get on the show, unfortunately. But again, I do this every month. Um, where YouTube Live when Saturday, July 25th, 2026, time 2 p.m. American Central Time, 3 p.m. Canadian Time, 8 p.m. West African Time, 9 p.m. South African Time, 10 p.m. East African Time, and 8 p.m. UK Time. Some people may wonder, why do we hold monthly virtual interactive conferences? Before I go into my presentation, I'm going to explain why we hold these monthly virtual interactive conferences. We do this in order to first engage with our listeners and to encourage them to join GRCAM, the grassroots community activist movement. We also want to raise funds for our film project, quote, Hood Liberator Made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins. This film project is my last attempt to try to do something positive for my racial group, Black Americans, who identify as DAS-FM, Descendants of American Slaves / Freedmen. Um, Shout out to Sister Renee. She's Black American like myself, and she's been working with me for behind the scenes for the past 14 years. And before I cut and run to Africa, I'm going to make sure that she's going to be well taken care of. I'm also going to make sure that we dedicate a chapter dedicated to her um, in West Memphis, Arkansas. Now she has a better relationship with her family than me, so hopefully her family members would be willing to work with her to help run the business down there. But again, I'm not going to leave the business, the main business here in Chicago, to my own family. Not at all, because they're full of Willie Lynch, and they'll sell it in a heartbeat. I want to pass this business down to GRCAM members, ladies and gentlemen. We host our monthly virtual interactive conference on the last Saturday of each month. Again, we're trying to raise $250,000 so that we can make a quality Black empowerment film based on my experience growing up in the inner cities of Chicago and what I had to endure, all the pushback, not from white America, but from Black Chicago, unfortunately, because I'm trying to build something positive in the Black community. That's just ridiculous. And again, as far as I'm concerned, this is spiritual warfare at its best. But again, this is my God-given assignment. And yes, my critics would say, well, Emmanuel, won't you just try to start your business in another city? And I try to explain to my critics, it doesn't matter what city I go to in the United States of America. That slave mentality is throughout, um, spread it out throughout the United States. I have to get it popping here in Chicago. And if that means I have to get help from people outside of Chicago, bring them in here, hire them, so be it. That's what I'm trying to do. But I want people to read my story first and foremost. Seem like this is the biggest uphill battle that I have. And that's how come I want to turn it into a film. Not to try and insult people's intelligence, but I know people got lives and all that stuff. That's important. But a lot of people don't like to read. Black people don't like to read, bottom line. You know, that's just how it is. We're going to try to, in this business, encourage, our Black youth in terms of helping them read and all that stuff. You know, help them write their own stories. And not only write books, but also be part of our film project, because that's what this business is geared toward. We want to create Black empowerment films to reach people. Positive things. We want to promote the best of Black culture, and we want to also promote the best of African culture. Um, so I want to encourage seasonal black um, filmmakers and seasoned African filmmakers from from across the United States of America. The first, I want them to read my story and then, get behind this film project, make arrangements with me. But we got to raise that capital first, that 250,000. Our history before Occupy Wall Street movement, Black Lives Matter movement, ADOS, and FBA. There was a Black grassroots organization online called the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. After being ignored and overlooked during my 2 years of street ministry, I learned about a platform back in my college days called Gopher. And Gopher, that's where I created GERCAM on November 10th, 1991. And at that time, um, I was focusing on racism on college campuses because at that time, um, the internet was only geared toward college students. It wasn't, available to the, you know, general public. Um, so that's what I did. And they had digital bulletin boards. That's what they called it at that time. Um, so on those digital bulletin boards, that allowed me to become a blogger, and I really started expressing myself over there. Then came after Gopher something called Linux web browser that came on the scene, and after that came Netscape, and then after Netscape came AOL, and then a lot of the major I'm gonna say search engines like Yahoo, um, Excite. Trying to remember some other ones. Um, Lycos. So they were pretty good. They all offered like free emails, so I got opportunity to get free emails, to create email accounts, and create groups. That's what I was on there for, basically. And just to try to network with other I would say Black Americans, um, Afro Brazilians, Afro Caribbeans, Afro Latinos. So I was doing my part in trying to connect with other Black students at that time on college campuses. And then I started talking about our communities and all that good stuff. But I'm just saying that's how we evolved. Um, so that's how that was. So basically, fast forward, I want to use my virtual Christian organization, which is GERCAM, to build a bridge between the Black community and the African immigrant community, and specifically the African immigrant community in the surrounding suburbs of Chicago. That's what I want to do with this. Um, through the business, I want to connect with, I'm going to say, Black artists, African artists, such as authors, comedians, poets, musicians, as well as entrepreneurs, and give them an opportunity to shine. So I do want to make myself clear here because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. You do not have to live in the ghettos to be part of this business. I want, actually, that's what I'm trying to do. I want to connect our low income community with the Black middle class community, you know, because the white supremacist financial elites, they divided us based on social class. That's how come they allowed because the civil rights movement, it was positive. However, when I did my research about it and stuff like that, and I talk about this in the book, that it really benefited white businesses because, um, our grandparents they got caught up with integration rather than just focusing on just having the same resources, just like the white community. That's all it should have been. It should have just stayed on that. We could have still been under Jim Crow, but we want to have access to the same resources. But no, it seemed like Dr. King was pushed towards the left in terms of, he was, I'm going to just say manipulated. Okay. That's what I'm saying. And, him and others, they was just for integration. Now that's on. I'm just going to lump that under Dr. King's Jr.'s camp. With Malcolm X, under his camp, he wanted separation. Over here with Gurkam, what we want to be able to. I want to help my brothers and sisters that's trapped in the inner cities, but I am going to try to encourage my members that live in the low income Black communities to strive for that middle class, trying to obtain that middle class status, because that's where all the violence is taking place in our low income Black community. And that's done by design. Actually, the white supremacist financial elites wanted us meaning Black people, to just end up killing each other off. And they did their plan almost worked. We lost a lot, and still to this day we're losing our youth. And I'm gonna point out about something that just happened recently. It happened on I believe on Wednesday. Garfield Park, a teenager, he was gunned down by urban terrorists. So the genocide is still taking place, but thank God that people such as myself, we were able to make it out. But I'm not just going back to the inner city, just to give pep talk. I want to teach our Black youth. I want to partner with single Black parents, single Black mothers, and single Black fathers that want more out of life. But my business is about raising the bar. I'm zero tolerance for foolishness. And I do not operate like the next Black man. I have my own style and way of doing things. And I'm not going to be like Dr. King. I mean, I respect the brother. But over here, nobody's going to sit up here and try to change the agenda. Because if you ain't with what I'm, the vision and plan that I laid out in that book, you can't be a part of my business, because this is membership based. This is how it is, and this is how it's going to be. I'm just being real about that. And again, if I have to reach out to African immigrants to help me get this thing popping, so be it. No shame, No shame at all, because we're going to replicate the same business on the African continent. But we're going to get it popping here first. I'm turning the business over. And when I come to Africa, I'm focusing only on African issues, point blank. Because I gave Black America 34 years of my life and I'm still on first base, and that is unacceptable, ladies and gentlemen. Um, so, um, so we're going to discuss issues such as mental health and wellness, racism on college campuses, etc. And again, I want to do more than just um, talk, running off at the mouth. I want results. I'm here to recruit people that got the qualifications that I'm looking for. Know what I'm saying? I want CAM to become an economic base within the low income Black community, in both the low income Black community and the middle class Black community. People need to understand that podcasting isn't just about sitting down and talking all day. It gives you some insight on business behind the camera and how you can make that grow into something bigger. I believe that Black content creators and African content creators, we have to work together in unison. That's why I'm trying, to get this business popping here in Chicago first. Now, in the book, I was hoping that Black America would receive, what I'm trying to do, and that it would expand to 25 cities within 25 states. But hey, that I have to rip that off, because 34 years and I'm still on first base. So that's the reality. So once we get it popping here in Chicago, I'm through. I can be released from my duties here in Chicago and expand it to the African continent. That's all I'm trying to do. I want to make the Black community through the business better. Help improve, help clean it up. Work with our Black youth, keep them off the streets and out of gangs, put money in their pockets through our Black empowerment films, so that way they can feed their families and pay their bills without having to, do or do something illegal, become a career criminal, and all that negative stuff that's portrayed in the media and also in the music videos. They brag about being a drug dealer. Ain't nothing cool about being a drug dealer when you're selling poison that destroys Black families. Okay. So that's what Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos is all about. Sharing our gifts and talents with the Black community and the Black world. Many Black families in America are going through post-generational trauma, which is passed down to the next generation due to enslavement and colonization. The buck stops with us, CAM members, and we're going to take the lead to turn around our inner cities. Starting in Chicago, and like I say, if it expand to other cities, cool. If not, hey, I tried. I don't want to waste any more time. For me, this is the most important film project in Black America. It's time to get our story on the big screen for the next generation. We have a new generation out here that needs to understand our situation in America. It is getting worse. And if we don't confront the slave mentality within our racial group, then Black America, it comes down to You only have two choices: either embrace annihilation or become a Gurkham member and survive if you want to survive here in America. I'm just saying. The Democrats are going to eventually win the White House, the Congress, and the Senate because there's a tit for tat, as I stated in my revised book. They will also reorder those borders or reopen those borders and reflood our communities with illegal immigrants so that they can compete against us for resources. All these other groups are in code with one another except Black people. And that's going to be the downfall for Black America. These people who are coming over here, they have anti-Black sentiment, from their homeland, especially, coming from Latin America, you know. So that's a bad thing. That's not good. So they already hate Black people in their own country. So, they're not going to love us. That's all they're not going to ally with us. That's all I'm saying. And within one generation, they will um, surpass us, and it won't be any Black community at all. But I've been sharing this with Black Americans, like I say, for the past 34 years. And now everything that I've written in my revised book is coming to pass. It sure is. I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, I told you so, blah, blah, blah. All I'm just trying to do is do my part, get this business up and running here in Chicago so I can expand it over to the African continent, work with African families that want more out of life. That's all. So the proceeds from the film will help put me in a better position so that way I can purchase property here in Chicago, Illinois, hire qualified Black middle class professionals, hire qualified African immigrants. We will offer mentorship. I'm just saying these are the different things: community advocacy, access, and opportunities for CAM members and their immediate family members. Our programs and services would include mentorship and leadership opportunities for high school students and college students. The RISE program will equip members and students with economic and business knowledge, including investment strategies, home buying guidance, and retirement planning. These initiatives would create strong leaders, healthier families, and more financial secure communities. Your support will sustain community advocacy and policy work, ensuring ongoing events for generations to come. Gurkham Chicago is a movement rooted in Black grassroots issues, not only limited to America, but also throughout the diaspora. The purpose at this stage of the game, like I say, Black America has two choices: either embrace annihilation or become a Gurkham member and uh, embrace survival in the United States. The grassroots community activist movement is dedicated to empowering and improving the quality of life for Black Americans in Chicago and beyond through health, education, business, youth services, and cultural initiatives. Okay. So the question is, what is the film about and the schedule? This docudrama is about my life experience growing up in a dysfunctional household, being neglected by extended family members. I use my pain to want more from my racial group. That's why I'm so passionate about connecting with other like-minded Black people and like-minded African immigrants, so that together we can build something of our own for our own um, people to enjoy. And again, I want to focus on lineage. So, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen. However, I have been getting a lot of pushback from, not from white America, but again from Black America, because this unchecked slave mentality within Black society. In my business, we will declare war on this slave mentality once and for all. This will be the most important film, as far as I'm concerned, since Roots. Our plan is to complete pre-production, post-production, and prepare, quote, Hood Liberator Made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins, unquote, for release. Um, the pre-production requires funding, production requires funding, post-production requires funding. Targeting near the end of 2026 or 2027. With your support, we can ensure a timely and impactful release that aligns with this significant film project. What is the budget? The lowest we can go is $250,000. That's the low. In order for us to make black, a quality Black empowerment film. We have carefully considered the budget to ensure that every dollar will be used wisely and effectively. Our budget breakdowns includes expenses for production equipment and crew, post-production, including editing, sound design, and visual effects, licensing and archives footage, marketing and promotion, distribution, and premiere events. Your contribution will be instrumental in covering these costs and bringing Hood Liberator Made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins to a global audience. Why do I care so much about this project? Again, I am deeply passionate about this project because our story has the power to influence our Black youth. This project matters because it's not just about preserving a legacy of a new Black movement. It's about recognizing the contributions of unsung heroes who laid the foundation for GCAM. So, yeah, I'm gonna talk about people like who I went to high school with. It was cool, and all that good stuff. But I'm just saying that's encouraged me to do this stuff. So I am gonna acknowledge that it's not just about Emmanuel Barbie. Stories about people that I interacted with, that was my friends, my peers, people that was I went to high school with, people that I went to grammar school with, people that I engaged with when I was in the taken away from my moms and placed in the system with foster care and all that good stuff. So I really didn't have a childhood, but I had to grow up fast, and I'm just doing the best I can to try to help my people that want more out of life. That's all, bottom line. By sharing their stories and insight, we can honor their contribution and ensure that future generations have an accurate understanding of GCAM and dealing head on with this Willie Lynch mentality within Black society. This documentary is a testament to my commitment to building something positive for Black Americans and expanding it to the African continent to give Black parents options where they want to raise their children. Either, I would say, in the Caribbeans or on the African continent. I'm just saying, give us options. because I don't want none of my members to have to be living in some doggone urban war zone. That's not cool at all. With your support, we can make um, this film project a reality. Risk and challenges. I want to talk to you about the potential obstacles we might face while bringing this film project to life. Your support means everything to us, and we believe in keeping you informed every step of the way. First and foremost, there's the risk of not meeting our funding goal. It's a possibility that we've taken into account, but with your help in spreading the word about our campaign, we're confident that we can overcome this challenge. Now, when it comes to production, documentaries can be unpredictable. We might encounter unexpected delays due to various factors like scheduling conflicts or unforeseen issues with equipment. Please know that we're committed to staying adaptable, and transparent with you throughout the process. The legal and licensing matters can be a bit of a maze. Obtaining the necessary rights and licenses for music, archives, footage, and more can be complex. We will work closely with legal experts to minimize any complications. Post production, with its technical um, intricate, tongue twisted, um, creative decisions may also pose challenges. We will hire a production company to have an experienced team in place to navigate this phase effectively. Distribution and marketing are key to getting our documentary out there. We already strategize on this front and exploring distribution options. Your continued support and word of mouth will be um, invaluable here. Lastly, your expectations are important to us. We promise to keep you updated regularly, share our progress, challenges, and any changes to our timeline or scope. We welcome your questions, feedback, ideas throughout this exciting journey. Thank you for being part of Hood Liberator Made in Chicago, the War Against Willie Lynch begins film project. Together, we're overcoming these challenges and make this documentary a reality so that we can create future Black empowerment films, supporters of our film project. Make a pledge without a reward back because you believe in it and it speaks volumes to you. It's my hope that the proceeds from the film will help put me in a better position financially so that I can hire um, GRCAM members to assist me in building the best Black Christian business within the United States of America. The Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago will be Black owned. Our aim is to strengthen the Black family, create economic opportunities for Black youth, African youth, and their families, improve the low income Black community, and build with the Black middle class community as well as the African immigrant community by building a safer environment for our Black children to grow up in. We are in a tough time because the divestment cuts from the Trump administration are intentional. It's not white America's responsibility to clean up our inner cities in Chicago. CAM members will take the lead in cleaning up our low income Black communities and low income Black neighborhoods. It's my hope that we can make Chicago a model city and encourage other Black Americans across the United States to join our cause. Quote, help stop the genocide in American ghettos. The Grassroots Community Activist Movement, thank you for considering your support for our film project. by purchasing my ebook and reading my story for yourself. You will play a crucial role in supporting our mission to create quality Black empowerment films to help us obtain seed money for our startup Christian business. With your financial support, we will be able to create quality Black empowerment films and offer valuable insight for Black artists, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs. Our aim is to equip our members and students with knowledge and resources they need to succeed in their personal life and in their business ventures. By joining our membership, you will have access to exclusive content, early previews of our films, videos, and articles, stage plays, and the opportunity to engage with the community of like minded individuals who share a passion for entrepreneurship and economic development. Your support will directly contribute to the growth and impact of the African um, immigrant community and the Black community in Chicago. Together, we can make a difference and unlock the potential of Black entrepreneurs and African entrepreneurs. Right? We will offer different membership levels, basic membership, networking membership, and entrepreneur membership. Okay. All righty. Um, I believe the way things are going with the Trump administration, the Democrats will regain some control after the midterm election because the Trump administration is doing a little too much right now. The American people are sick and tired of it. Keep in mind, the Democrats are not our friends. I'm not saying the Republicans are, but the Democrats have a proven record that they're not um, Black Americans' friends. They legislate in a lot of cases against us for the betterment of everybody else. When they get back in the office, do you think they're going to really make us a top priority like they did with illegal immigrants? Do you really think that they will give us an anti Black hate crime bill or give us our reparations? They're going to undo everything the Trump administration has put in place. They're going to reopen those borders again. They're going to allow illegal immigrants right back into our neighborhoods. Just saying. Now, our mission to help clean up the low income Black community by eradicating urban violence in Chicago through art, culture, commerce, spiritual development, and hosting African tours. Advocate for Black Americans who identify as descendants of American slaves / freedmen. Promote Black economic empowerment, education, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and economic stability. Promote healthcare access and promote civic engagement and advocate for lineage policies and social justice. Right? Um, Before I make any major moves, I want my advisory board or resource team to have an associate's degree or above. I want Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, financial planners, marketers, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. As it pertains to our film project, I'm looking for legitimate artists such as film directors, producers, actors, stage managers, professional fundraisers, technical directors, and marketers who can come to Chicago and join our film project team once we raise the funds. Ladies and gentlemen, the grassroots community activist movement is for descendants of American slaves slash freedmen and African immigrants who reside in the United States of America. Both groups will heal from the scars. For Black Americans, that would be the scars of slavery, and for African immigrants, that would be colonization. This is for credibility before we replicate the business in 10 African nations. Once we have a foothold in Africa, then we will launch our business in the Caribbean and also in Brazil. Once we obtain a physical building, then we will encourage local residents on the west side of Chicago who reside in Austin, Garfield Park, and North Londale to attend our mandatory orientation. Eventually, we will make our presence known on the south side of Chicago as well, in both the low income Black community and the middle class Black community. We welcome non Black sympathizers to join us, not as groups, but as individuals. In order for them to join our Black business, we need to know a few things where each person stand on certain issues. For example, they may share their position in front of all of us where they stand on the issue of lineage based cash payment reparations for descendants of American slaves. Are you for it or against it? Do you believe Black Americans should have their land back that was stolen from them after slavery to now, whether through acts of terror or through gentrification? Yes or no? Do you believe Black Americans should have an anti Black hate crime bill? Yes or no? Everything I do is Black targeted and Black centered here in America and eventually on the international stage as well. I don't target anything else but us and what we got going on. Those who are against it can't be a part of us. Those who agree with us, then they should have to, then they will have to pay a reparations fee and sit in the back seat because over here we are M1, meaning melanated first. Nothing else on earth matters. Our focus is on solving Black issues in America point blank. That's just how it is. Everyone must sign that community pledge, pass our criminal background check, and those who are 18 and above must submit their thumbprint into our database. In time, we will offer a second chance program for people of nonviolent crimes, former gang members, and homeless individuals within our communities, pending on our budget and sponsorship. In Chicago, Chicago, we will raise the bar in America by separating ourselves from the enemy within our racial group, who are con artists, Black boule, degenerates, Democrat shields, hardened criminals, pedophiles, off code Negroes, and urban terrorists. There will be consequences in place to handle such persons through our Judas list. To learn more about that, read my book, please. Chicago, Chicago will be a multi-purpose facility consisting of a nonprofit sector and also a for-profit sector operating under 9 functions within the low-income Black community and the middle-class Black community. Number 1, a social service component. Number 2, a spiritual component, which will be optional for secular people. 3, a political component. 4, an, uh, uh, an entertainment component. 5, an entrepreneur component. 6, health and wellness component. 7, Black grassroots media component. 8, science and technology component. 9, travel and tourism component. Under our for-profit business sector, it will be known as the Red Zone. We will offer state-of-the-art recreational center, which will have bowling, high rope adventures, captivating game rooms featuring the latest videos and amusements, stylish billboards, energetic dance rooms, and quality restaurants, various businesses, on-site child daycare, and on-site music recording studio for our members and students making documentary films and stage plays. In addition, we will host family-friendly activities, including combination bit deals, um, birthday parties, weddings, and corporate parties/events. We will practice group economics in real time by pooling our resources together in order to enter these three industries: the grocery store industry, the healthcare industry, and the housing industry, because all of us need food, healthcare, and shelter, and that will never go out of style. That's a human need. These three industries alone would create black jobs in the black community. We will place our grocery store and housing in the black middle class community so that we could offer more things to our members and students who reside in the low income black community. Under the nonprofit cooperative, we are a certified 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to opening the world of inner city youth through local cultural em- emissions, career development, and skills building, and eventually hosting African tours. Our objective is to invest in Black youth, African youth, through our business, access to cultural, academic empowerment, and transformative power by becoming global citizens. We understand that active participation and hands on experience are crucial for effective learning and personal growth. That's why our programs will be carefully crafted to be dynamic, stimulating, and interactive. Through our variety of engagement activities, workshops, and collaborative projects, will foster an environment where our students can actively explore, question, and discover the world. We will create and produce Black empowerment films, stage plays, and music that address the concern, interests, and culture of Black people and African people in Chicago. We will provide hands on production, education, equipment access for Chicago residents who are members of GCAM. GCAM Chicago will provide coverage of local events and give Chicagoans a voice by providing video training, facilities, and equipment for Chicago residents. GCAM Chicago will empower Black Chicagoans to tell their stories, share their perspectives, and connect communities through media. We will provide the training, equipment, digital streaming, and on-demand content, and create short films, documentaries, and stage plays in order to reach audience around the globe. The vision of Cacao Chicago is to build a bridge between the low income Black community and the African immigrant community. Building this bridge is vital to the survival of uh, Black Americans and African immigrants. Our main objective for Black Americans who become GCAM members is for them to heal from the slave mentality imposed on our people during slavery. We will learn how to respect each other's culture, learn how to trust one another, learn how to do business with each other so that we can replicate the business model on the African continent. We encourage the diaspora to invest in African people, the culture, and help assist in building the infrastructure Africa lacks, as well as bring our business development to Africa and vice versa for Native Africans to do international trade with our people within the low income Black community and the Black middle class community in order for it to be a win win situation for both groups. Unlike Pan Africanism, which was only one sided and only benefited African immigrants and Afro Caribbeans, the CAM members will take the lead to make sure that both diaspora African immigrants and Native Africans will benefit from this business. Under our nonprofit sector of the business, it will consist of a cooperative. I work it out with my attorney for us to allow active members to own 2% of the company once they are added to our database. We programs we will offer includes we will offer associate degrees and vocational training to our members and students, automatic te- automotive technology, cosmetology and barbering, commercial driving training, and tech and trade. Focus on fostering a supportive environment where Black girls slash African girls and Black boys, African boys can explore careers in technology and trade. The program seeks to inspire confidence and competence through hands on learning experience, workshops, and community engagement. Learning to fly in the sky. This program will aim to inspire and educate youth about avi- av- eh, hold on, tongue twisted. Aviation, engineering, and the thrill of flying. This program will introduce our students to the world of avi- aviation through hands-on activities and mentorship from experienced pilots, just like our ancestors did at Tuskegee Institute. Media services. This program aims to teach our students about marketing, media consultants, event coverage, and collaboration. We offer parenting classes. We will teach young adults how to care for their children, and we will encourage marriage. Violence prevention programs. Our second chance program for um, that's for street credibility. Okay, alrighty. Financial literacy. Financial foundation for wealth creation focus on the ability to manage personal finance through education about basic budgeting, investing, personal credit, real estate, retirement, and tax explained. In this course, students will learn to evaluate um, barriers to entering and potential marketing using decision making tools like cash flow statements and budgets. Money mastery. So that would consist of income, budgeting, and spending, risk management and insurance, credit repair, debit management, debt management, real estate investment, tax planning, building a success plan. So that's all the stuff that we would teach. Um, we will also assist our members with their utility bills. Depending on our budget and sponsorship, we will offer light groceries through our food pantry programs, drug rehab, and tutorial services for Black youth, African youth, and their families. It's all the stuff I want us to do through this business. Not just sitting up here running off at the mouth, working directly with the community, ladies and gentlemen. Know what I'm saying? So, well, trying to figure. So, some other things I'm going to mention community and connection. The Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago will help organize festivals, community gatherings, and live performance, giving our members, supporters, and community partners a platform to share their talents. Through community contributions, we ensure these meaningful experiences remain accessible to everyone that's members or students. Um, GRCAM members, that is local musicians, will have an opportunity to have their music and our film stage plays and during live events. I'm just saying that's one of the benefits. So that's all I'm saying. So just trying to do something productive. That's all. Trying to create it. Chicago, Chicago will have five top priorities: community safety, education, healthcare, economic justice, and social justice. Our programs will be centered on providing direct services to meet the need of CACAM members in the Black community. We will promote economic opportunities in the Black community and build alliance with the African immigrant communities by building a bridge between both communities. Okay. Um, that's what I want us to do in this business. Um, Trying to figure out what else I want to say here. So when I get on these microphones, I'm not on here for entertainment. I'm on here for a call of action. You know, that's what I'm on here for. As American systems face structural instabilities, Black communities are disproportionately impacted by the decline and are advised to prepare for continued intense systematic hostility. As I mentioned in my revised book, Black households are uniquely vulnerable to economic decline and societal instability, serving as an early indicator of wider economic distress. Warning emphasizes that high inflation, high rising unemployment, and potential policy shifts such as reducing social spending and civil rights protections could disproportionately affect Black wealth, employment, and safety. I'm just saying. Economic vulnerability. Black unemployment has shown a fast increase compared to other groups, leading to risk of stagflation and reduced job stability. Targeting policy impact. Analysis have warned that proposed cuts to healthcare, food assistance, and educational funding, along with rising costs, could widen the racial wealth gap. Systematic instability. Increased reports of racialized hostility, threats to civil rights, and reduced federal oversight and policing have led to concerns about the safety and quality of Black residents. Um, Historical context. Many Black Americans maintain a deep mistrust of U.S. institutions, viewing them as structural designed to hinder progress. A sentiment exacerbated by ongoing inequalities in health, income, and justice. Community leaders and analysis advise strengthening local resistance, supporting Black owned businesses, and active involvement in protecting voting and civil rights to lighten um, or lower these risks. The white supremacist financial elites unalive 80% of the indigenous people in the United States. The American empire is collapsing. This collapse is not just economic, it is moral and social due to the lack of protecting the American public from foreign exploitation. For example, a large segment of the American people, quote, working class, feel betrayed by both political parties. Once the dollar is no longer the world's reserve currency, then America will fall. For example, the British Empire was a slow collapse from the end of World War I. We're not prepared. Our democracy, our democratic, social, and cultural institutions are in decay. I'm just being real. Yep. So it's just rough. Um, the white supremacist financial elites have taken over institutions of government, turning the U.S. into a bankrupt democracy, a system where corporate and military powers are absolute, while democratic procedures such as elections, media are reduced to meaningless theater. Cities like Chicago, Detroit, and New Jersey were once thriving industrial hubs, but are now ruined by landscapes categorized by poverty, crime, and crumbling infrastructure. Decline of morals as a result, the American society is broken and often no hope for the working poor. America are Americans are turning to self-destructive behavior. These pathologies, addictions, and gamblings are signs a society has lost its social, moral, and cultural cohesion. For example, the um, the increase of opioid crisis, which has unalived thousands of Americans annually, the decline in living standards of American citizens, the fall of Rome and the British Empire had outlived its hold to power. The same for the American Empire is coming. The reason why we are going to first set up shop in East Africa, especially Kenya, if Kenyan people receive me. I plan on setting up shop in. I wanted to set up shop in South Africa, but at the moment, South Africa is acting the most right now, and it's not looking too good. Secondly, the tribes that were actively involved in the slave trade, they still exist today in Ghana. Not just picking on Ghana, but all of West Africa, you know. So I want us to get a foothold on the continent in several East African nations first before we expand to the West. The president of Ghana is from a tribe that is collectively involved with the slave trade. Centuries later, all of a sudden, start talking about being an advocate for DAS FM, Descendants of American Slaves slash Freedmen. Again, this is why I need African immigrants who reside in America to come forth and work with me in building this business so that together we can build and heal from the scars of slavery and colonization before we expand and replicate the business in 10 African nations. The part where they talk about setting up a reparation global fund raises concerns for me. The language is vague. Who's going to monitor the funds? Who's going to determine where the money goes? I give Ghana credit though for creating a 19-point framework, and they are standing with Caribbean nations in South America who are also victims of the slave trade. One thing I did not like in this report was that they were talking about climate change. Africa is prevented from Western nations to use coal or build our own manufacturing companies because the white supremacist financial elites don't want to see Africa develop. DAS FM will teach our brothers and sisters how to handle these white supremacist financial elites and put them in their place. We do not want to be Europeans, and if we can't, uh, we do not want to be Europeans, and if they can't accept that, then they must leave our continent because we did not invite them in the first place. They imposed themselves on us. Look at just do the history. I mean, they came to us. We didn't come to Europeans. They came to our continent. And unfortunately, Africa just it's just horrible what happened. I tried to build some again, I'm trying to build something positive for my people in America, but as I stated many times before, the majority of black Americans have become Americanized, developed a narcissist attitude, and have taken on the colonizers' ways. For me, the battle is not for America, the battle is for Africa. And if we lose Africa, we lose everything. DAS FM has to get our reparation from the US government. Again, we can't make these people pay us our just dues, but DAS FM can encourage our African brothers and African sisters not to do business with these former colonizers if they don't give us our reparations for slavery and your reparations for colonization. The other harms they inflicted on our people, they are the ones who have put us in these situations. They came to us begging to trade with our people, not the other way around. They imposed their culture on us. We were doing just fine without them, and we don't need them. We we will bring our talents and skills to help improve the African economy um, in exchange for dual citizenship and land. So that's why I want to talk to each African. I'm going to say each African leader or the government to each African country that we visit. To talk to them behind closed doors. Not going to put everything out there. What I'm going to say. No. So my objective for African immigrants in America and the global African family is for us to get Kyle Chicago on the international stage. Africa has no military power to make European nations pay for colonization. Black Americans have no organization or unity among ourselves to make the US government pay us our reparation. We just don't. It's just how it is. Thank you all for being patient. And again, on Saturday, I will, well, if my panelists show up now, for example, I'm just going to put this out here. If I don't have anyone coming on the show, I'll wait around for about 15 minutes on Saturday. And if I don't have anyone that's going to be on the panel, then hey, it is what it is. We'll just move on to next month. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I do this because I'm documenting what I'm trying to do, trying to move this thing to the next level. Yes, I'm dropping science. It's a lot of information. But hey, I mean, I'm, I back up what I say if given the opportunity. That's all I'm saying. Um, all right, so I'm finna get ready for us to listen to some of these videos, and then we will call it a day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for bearing with me. Yes, it's a lot of information. Uh, well, like I say, this is a call to action, and this is my way of, trying to get things done. Okay, this is our first video. Um, I'm gonna say fair use, CBS News, because one of my critics was saying there's no genocide in America, and of course they'll say ignorant stuff like that because they are not looking at what's going there. First of all, they don't live in the inner cities, okay, and so a lot of people, they don't care about what's going on there. Again, that's where I came from. I have love for my people. Yes, they have funny style with me and stuff like that. And, our people have been traumatized you know, and yes, I've been pushing this for a long time. But again, God give us free will. If it was up to me, everybody that's listening would be on board. The business would be up and running today if it was up to me. But again, God give us free will. So, like I said, I'm just doing the best I can within my power. This is ridiculous, and I never want to go through this kind of foolishness again, and I want to make sure none of my members do neither. Trying to do something positive and then being overlooked. The dope man has more support from the black community than me. That's a doggone shame. And he's selling his street drug laced with fentanyl. And that will kill you real fast. But hey, it is what it is.
The family of the 15-year-old boy tells me more than anything, he was excited to start high school here next month. They also tell me he was an athlete and a big brother whose life was tragically cut short.
This is 15-year-old Isaiah Palmer wearing his cap and gown as he recently graduated from grade school. They took my baby. Police say they were called here to Jackson Boulevard near Kilpatrick around 1 o'clock in the morning. His mother tells me she came home to find Isaiah shot in the head on their back porch. She was understandably too distraught to speak, his cousin stepping in.
We're absolutely devastated.
She says Isaiah had a 10 p.m. curfew.
He was a gamer, he loved sports, just an overall quiet, calm, cool, pretty cool kid.
After hours, he was only allowed to hang out with his friends on their back porch.
I think that it's very important to understand that this child was in the safety of his own home. They lived on the 3rd floor. It wasn't as if this was easy access. He did not hang out. He was not a part of street life, street culture.
His family telling me they've spent the last 15 years of his life trying to protect him.
We want to raise good young men, and that's what we did, and he was taken from us way too soon and tragically.
It's not clear who shot Isaiah or why. You can see the back of their building is secured by a gate.
This is senseless. It does not make sense. He was not the type of personality to be involved in something this tragic.
The family is asking anyone in the community who knows something about the shooting to come forward. Reporting on the west side, Asal Razai, CBS News, Chicago.
Imagine making 400.
Welcome to the Republicans' White Pride rally disguised as a congressional hearing. It might be uncomfortable for some people on this committee to hear about the true history of America, and I hate that for them, but facts are facts. And it's a fact that there is a violent, exclusionary, discriminatory, sexist, and racist part of American history, where our indigenous populations were forcibly displaced from their land, where thousands of Black people were unjustly lynched, where Black people were denied the right to vote, and they still trying to do it today, where women needed their husband's permission to open a bank account, where people with disabilities were routinely excluded from schools, workplaces, and public life, where 4 little Black girls were murdered by the KKK at the 16th Street Baptist Church. And a lot of this wasn't that long ago. In fact, 3 of those little girls would be 77 and 1 would be 74. More than 40 members of Congress serving right now would be older than them. Ruby Bridges, who was the first Black child to desegregate an all-white school, is only 71 years old. More than 100 members of Congress serving right now are older than her. So attacks on the Smithsonian or any other institution that's willing to tell the true history of America is not only an attempt to rewrite history, it's an attempt to erase history. So Dr. Blight, if Republicans are going to ban books, penalize schools and universities, attack museums, if states continue to change curriculum, where do Americans go to learn about the complicated, sometimes racist and violent parts of American history?
Thank you for the question. I think they will have to keep going to the same institutions, and we have to keep fighting to preserve what we are doing in those institutions. They have to keep going to public schools. They have to keep going to the public libraries. They have to keep going to the great Smithsonian. Look, the purpose of history is to enlighten us, inspire us, trouble us, bother us, sometimes make us angry. I find it hard to believe that a young person could go through the Museum of American History and not come out at least inspired with the single most important thing, a sense of the past, a sense of history. Americans have to keep going to those places they trust. We have to keep those institutions trustworthy.
Thank you so much. In fact, that takes me to Dr. Hartig. They accuse you and the Smithsonian of sowing division in this country. However, before the White House deleted it, the Departments of Justice and Homeland Security found the biggest domestic threat to the United States is violent white supremacists. So I have a couple of questions for you. First, to the best of your knowledge, has the museum ever been linked to any violent act that has occurred in the United States or against the U.S. government?
Thank you, ma'am. Not to the best of my knowledge.
I don't think many of these white supremacists can even read, but to the best of your knowledge, can you identify a single artifact in your museum that would divide the country?
To the best of my knowledge, ma'am, no. I hope that they unite the country through a shared understanding of our past.
Do you think, or do you ask the political affiliation of any of your employees before you hire them?
Absolutely not, ma'am. It's against the Hatch Act of 1939.
I'm glad that you know the law, but nevertheless, do you ask if they've donated to political campaigns?
Absolutely not, ma'am. It's against the Hatch Act of 1939.
We need a briefing in this building, but nevertheless, do you only hire non-white people?
No, ma'am.
In fact, almost 60% of the Smithsonian's total workforce is men and more than 50% is white. 90% of Smithsonian employees making senior level pay are white and 60% of them are men. I don't understand this fetish that these white guys with fragile egos have with trying to feel oppressed. It reminds me of the same people MLK was referring to when he said, quote, "They believe that American society is essentially hospitable to fair play and to steady growth towards a middle-class utopia embodying racial harmony. But unfortunately, this is a fantasy of self-deception and comfortable vanity." I want to go back real quick, though, Dr. Blight, because you talked about the World Cup. The World Cup that captured the imaginations of the entire world when they saw all of these people of color that was playing for all these teams. And ultimately, if you recall, the last two teams, it was Argentina and Spain. And it seemed like the vast majority of the world was rooting for Argentina, or actually against Argentina, right? And why was that? Just give me an explanation if you could guess, if you'll just let them finish the answer.
Spain had the best team. Maybe that's why they were rooting for them.
There's also a racist history that exists.
Mr. Byer, you're recognized.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Hartig, how many?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the document that I would like for my panelists to talk about. So it's right here. This only thing I'm confused about a little bit. Looks like it says 7. Up there, 7, but it's highlighting 6. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it says C, global strategic framework for reparatory justice. Okay. Starting from there. Okay. And then that one and that one. I'm not going to read all of this stuff because I'm going to have my panelists to help me with that part. And, after that, we can talk about it. So this is, now it's saying 8, but the highlights here 7. So I'm gonna keep going so that we can see. And you can find this document again on my Medium transcript in the comment section below this audio podcast, okay? Right, so let's see that one. So these things here. Right, and then this around here. Or maybe we could, let's see, just a moment. If I scroll down, okay, yes. Scroll down over here. All right, so maybe that should be the end right there then. Yeah, that is. So that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear what she has to say.
I'm not African American. I don't, nothing about life, my family, nothing leads back there. Everything leads back to, we were stripped of our culture and created our own.
Again, that continent is that continent, bro. Like, yeah, that's literally our roots. That's literally true stuff. Okay, true. But we know for a 1,000% fact that's our roots. Up 2% from Ghana, all of a sudden they get the Ghana flag running around. So I'm like, honestly, I'm telling you, that's even after seeing all these soccer teams, I'm like, nah, I'm a Black American, but I'm not even trying to claim this. This is my roots are. This is what my family is. This is what it is.
1,000%. I've shifted from saying I'm an African American because I'm not. I'm a Black American.
I say Black too.
I'm not an African American. I don't.
So yes, I mean, when I was in high school and stuff, that's when the mid 80s, that's when the African American was coming out, Reverend Jesse Jackson, but I'm just saying a lot of my peers, they didn't want to be called that, so I'm just saying. Okay, let's see, I'm gonna come back to that. I'm gonna do this one.
I have a pastor here, a white pastor, who stood up on the pulpit and is talking about how Europe had to correct the mistakes that Africans have made and are making to help Africa live better. And for Europe to correct that mistake, Europe will have to come back and take over Africa. Before you tell me that they have the right to say what they say because of the situation of Africa and the mindset of the African. Pardon me, the students are out for break, so the noise is everywhere. Before you come tell me that they have the rights because Africans do not value what they have and the rest. I have asked a question before and I will ask again. Who gave them the rights? Especially when they are part of the problem, the cause of the problem, even though we were complicit.
It's so easy to become a podcaster with Riverside. First, go to Riverside and open an account. When you're ready.
But they did a lot of harm to the continent. They don't have the right to sit anywhere and talk about Africa or stand anywhere and talk about Africa. Who gave them the right?
Africans, I need you to open your ears very well. And listen to this.
The Hamites have been assigned to a civilizational station of subordination and dependence. And the answer to this paradigm is not endless foreign money. That's not the answer to this problem. The answer is to return to European Christian colonization of African nations. I believe that's truly the answer, and let me tell you why. It's the only thing that has historically worked, that has shown fruit. I'm not talking about overtaking Africa. I'm not talking about enslaving Africans. I'm not talking about exploiting Africans. But I'm talking about establishing order, godly leadership, and carrying the gospel to their lands. In fact, the only times that African nations have seen significant and sustained civilizational improvement, and I'm talking about infant mortality rates going down, I'm talking murder going down, I'm talking disease going down, tribal wars ceasing. The only time Africa has ever seen that happen in being sustained is when they have come under Japhethite supervision.
Did you hear that? Africans, what you have just heard is that they are coming back. The same people who colonized us are planning to come back. I told you before that in your house, once you see one cockroach, know that there are 1,000 cockroaches in that same house. Once you hear one voice like this, start talking about recolonization of Africa, know that he is not alone thinking this way. There are thousands and millions of them thinking about the same thing. And two things are going to facilitate the recolonization of Africa. Number one, this our love for religion. According to what he is saying in this video, Africans are not Christians enough yet. They need to come back and recolonize Africa so that they can establish godly leadership, according to him, godly leadership. As if the people who are leading us in Africa now are not the same Christians and Muslims. So according to them, we are not Christian yet enough. They still need to come back. The same excuse they used to come and colonize us is the same they are going to use again. They said they were colonizing Africa in order to spread Christianity. Now they think we are still not Christian enough. They still need to recolonize us so that they can establish godly leadership in Africa. I hope you are seeing. The very people who are going to open the door for the recolonization of Africa is religious people. You Christians are going to be the people who are going to lead us to the second phase of slavery and colonization. If we don't quit this religion now, this religion is going to lead us back to the state of colonization. I promise you. The second thing is our failures of leadership. This is not the first video I am posting where someone is talking about recolonizing Africa. The first person said, we have shown sufficiently to the world that we are unable to govern ourselves. Having all the natural resources, we are unable to harness them in our own interest to serve the interests of our people. So they think they should come and recolonize us and then help us manage these resources and help us govern ourselves, because we have proven that we do not have the capacity to govern ourselves. This is why I keep saying, leave religion and face your politics. Face leadership. Face governance. Because as long as we have bad governance, we will not be respected in the world. As a matter of fact, there will come a time where they will use this excuse of bad governance to come back and recolonize us. If we do not take charge of the situation, be actively involved in politics, register for elections. When it is time to protest, go out massively and protest. Defend your rights. Make sure that you elect the right people who are able to deliver the goods. If you do not do that, they will use this same excuse to come back and recolonize us. To be honest, does it not scare you that we should go back to where our ancestors have been? Are we not tired? Africans, I have told you, let's quit this foreign religion that has made us dependent on foreign culture and made us a dumping ground and made us a foreign market. Let us start building our own society around our own culture, our own spirituality, and our values. This is going to break us free from this mental slavery. And we can also run our markets and our economy by ourselves. If we do not do this, I guarantee you in the next 30, 40, 50 years, we are going back to the state of colonization. And this scares me more than everything. My only wish is that by the time this happens, I should not be alive to witness it. At least the videos I'm uploading here daily on my page, shouting as the voice in the days that telling Africans to wake up, they will be my witness for posterity to know that I played my part. I tried to make my people see the dangers ahead, but they did not listen to me.
Nobody told you this. Not your teacher, not your dentist, not even the tooth fairy. But it's true. Once your teeth are...
He asked a question. Are we not tired? Are we not tired? You can check him at Banco and ask him if he is on YouTube, or he hasn't replied me yet. But whenever he does reply, I'll put the link there so that you follow him on YouTube. He's an enlightened man, and he's helping people to be enlightened. But there is one thing with Africans: they don't want enlightenment. They want to remain in that comfort zone of theirs. I am tired. If you are not tired of the situation and the city, I'm tired. I am. So according to this pastor, who is European, of course, he claimed that the solution to Africa's problem is European Christian colonization of Africa, recolonization of Africa. The audacity. And I don't blame him, because we gave him the right to say things like this. So I won't even talk to him. I won't even talk about him. Now let's address the issue that was raised by Banku. They are coming back, and it's a fact. They're on our doorpost. They started returning for a long time. Remember when I told you that when I traveled around countries in West Africa, I noticed something. And I didn't keep quiet on it. I spoke about it. They are purchasing lands. And when I say land, hectares of land. Interior places in the continent of Africa. What do you think they want to erect in those places they purchase? What do you think they want to do in those places they purchase? They know that Europe very soon will be unbearable for them. And we are here sleeping. They are coming back, and they are the doorpost. They are about to enter. And they have understood that the best way for control of Africa is through religion. And he has spoken it out. That's Christian recolonization of Africa. When they come through that line, they will succeed. A lot of churches in the continent of Africa are accepting money from NGOs in Europe and America. Do you think they are giving you those money for free? You call them to come and build churches for you. Do you think it is for free? They are coming back to collect that which they gave you. Bankum said something. He said, our love for religion is going to be the first thing that will bring us down and will force us to bow. Our love for religion. We love religion so much. It seems like our placenta was buried in the heart of Europe. So whatever Europe brings, we open our hand and accept it. And when you talk about Christianity, people will tell you, hey, Christianity was in Africa. This is your excuse for following and still bowing to the systematic Christianity that was presented to you, right? Now let's agree that Christianity was in Europe, in Ethiopia. Is it the same form of Christianity that was brought to you that was in Ethiopia? Why can't you reject this one that is coming from Europe and go back to the one you claim was in Ethiopia? Yes, the Ethiopian had a connection to a source. They had their own system of worship and beliefs. But it's not the same as the Christianity that you know today. It is not. So don't use us as an excuse to keep hanging on this thing that obviously is going to be used for our subjugation and destruction as Africans. The second thing he talked about is our failure of leadership. Failure of leadership. Now, these two things that was presented, was it originally the African system? The religions that were brought, were they African? Capital, no. The pattern of leadership, is it African? Capital, no. Now you see why they were angry with the pattern of leadership that Traore invented in Burkina Faso. Because it has nothing to do with democracy. Democracy is not our thing. However you look at this thing, I don't know, but you see, anything that comes from Europe is not our own. We can derive our own form of democracy, that's fine, but let it be that organically it's our pattern. How can you live the life and way of people that does not look like you, they don't think like you, they don't perceive like you, they are not the same color like you? And this is why I keep singing every day here. Let's love one another. Let's unite. But you all will not listen. You will not listen. In the melanated community, we begin to divide ourselves and have segregation. They are there looking at us and they are laughing at us.
I just found out that if you have 2 cars on your car insurance, this is 100% what you should be doing. So I found this website and look at the difference. $159 a month. I thought this was the best price I could find. Don't even look.
We are using our hand to work for our own downfall. There's no doubt about that. We are working with them for our own destruction. It doesn't mean you go and stand with them and say, look at me, I want to work with. No. The way we act towards each other is clear that we are working for our destruction. And see, these people, they planned this thing for a long time and they're just whispering into your ear. They told us that Africa must fragment. Do you know why? If they want to control Africa better, the fragmentation of Africa is the best way. And they say South Africa has to begin with the fragmentation of Africa. And something was whispered to our ears, it was whispered to yours. I believe I said that to you here. The Muslims are doing theirs. The Christians are doing theirs. And who suffers? The African suffers. The African who have decided to throw away the originality of themselves, to throw away their ancestors' way of life, they are the ones that suffer. When we tell you here that there was nothing wrong with the spiritual system of the African people, the ones that were propagated, you think it's more deliberate, that they propagated blood sacrifice, dirty shrine and the rest. This is what they show you in public. So that you will hate everything that has to do with the African. And we're told here by Work Seeker, and even by Teacher Mitri, that blood sacrifice is never the African thing. So any shrine, any man that calls himself a ritual or a, what do you call them, whatever, and they do blood sacrifice and slaughter animals here and there, that is not representing the African spiritual system. They are representing themselves and the force. I won't say it's in the demonic force, but let's just say the force that controls them. Because blood sacrificing had never sit down well with me. I don't believe in those, even from the beginning. And we heard it. That the idea of blood sacrifices, if blood sacrifices are done to lower entities. So the African system is not what is portrayed to you out there in public. It is different. African spirituality is you understanding nature and seeing yourself through it. That is all. You don't need any extra what have you to have communication with the source of all life, with the creators of all that exist. But we have bombarded ourselves with different beliefs, different patterns, different practice. We are confused. We don't even know what we want anymore. Why? Because the systems that we have agreed upon, we have accepted, is a system that is for our downfall as Black people worldwide. And I'm going to see you in my next one. Remember, nobody has the right to claim Africa. Africa only belongs to Black, melanated people worldwide. It doesn't belong to any European. It doesn't belong to any Arab. It belongs to Black, melanated, 9 etheric kings and queens. And so, no matter the situation we might be in, we should not make the mistake of accepting that we do not deserve Africa. Africa is our continent, and we deserve Africa. It is normal that children make mistakes, but that doesn't deny them the fact that they are the children of their mother. Your children make mistakes. Does that stop them from being your children? Or does that stop you from being their mother? No. We will always be calling ourselves out and fixing our problems. But that does not mean we don't deserve our continent. We deserve our continent because the source of all life that created us in this part of the world and created us as the firstborn of creation was not stupid. And so we're not going to give this inheritance on a platter to any being from any mountain or any cave. We will protect this identity with our last blood. Like Bankum said, posterity itself will see that he had done his part, and myself in the future, the source, also is aware that I put in my part, my efforts, to see that we all wake up and accept our responsibilities and claim our inheritance. Love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive always, Your Majesties. Remember, Africans deserve Africa.
If you
President, there is no xenophobia in South Africa. It's a few groups of thugs who think they can run our country and make Africa divided. We do not subscribe to xenophobia. We will never hate Botswana because we are married to each other. Together. When you hate Botswana, that is because you are hating yourself. Everyone who has engaged in xenophobic attacks in South Africa suffers from self-hate. Do not generalize all of us. We want African unity. We want the unity of SADC. We want to share in the land of Africa because we're collectively exploited. There is no one who can say these ones were better off and we were exploited. Everywhere where an African child is found, that African child is hated. Black people are hated everywhere. We cannot afford to hate them here in Africa.
Yes, South Africans are not xenophobia. South Africans are good people. It's only a small group of people who are sponsored and paid to hate fellow Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, dear lovely family, brothers and sisters, those are words of Julius Selo Malema, speaking from Gaborone, Botswana, where he was invited to the BNF conference in Botswana in front of President Duma Gideon Boko of Botswana. My dear lovely family, brothers and sisters, I would like to focus on the issue of xenophobia. There are three things that Africans, especially South Africans, they need to know about xenophobia. Three things we need to understand about xenophobia, and we need to pay attention on this issue. Xenophobia is being sponsored purposely to shift the minds of Black majority in South Africa instead of focusing on the root causes of their challenges to look somewhere else. Number two is to make sure that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area and Africa Agenda 2063 is not going to be achieved. That is agenda number 2 of xenophobia. And agenda number 3, this is the most hidden agenda that, of course, we don't see it, is for white South Africans to have their own country. The agenda of xenophobia is for white South Africans to create their own country. You may ask me how. Let me start with this agenda. Agenda number 3. We come to agenda number 2 and agenda number 1. Agenda number 3 of xenophobia is to make sure that white South Africans, they are going to create their own country. To create their own country because, first of all, they want to create the image of South Africa, that the people of South Africa, black South Africans, are killers, are people who are killing fellow Africans, people who are killing other people. You remember Donald Trump said there was white genocide in South Africa. You remember? And that statement never changed. When you ask Trump about South Africa, Trump is saying there is white genocide in South Africa. Farmers are being killed in South Africa. And now, after white being killed, according to Trump and the Western world, now it's about black or Africans also are being attacked. You see, in this side, whites are attacked. Now, xenophobia, black are attacked. What does that mean? It means South Africans, black South Africans, they don't want anyone. They're killing whites at the same time they're killing blacks. Blacks are also moving away. You have seen blacks or Africans being repatriated. Nigerians have moved away. Ghanaians have moved away. Ugandans have moved away. Congolese, some of them are moved away, returned to their home countries. Malawians have returned to their home countries. But if you heard one time that white South Africans are returning to Europe, I want to ask you, if you heard that there's white South Africans who are being repatriated to Europe because there's white genocide, why they're staying in South Africa? Do you know? But black people, Nigerians have returned home, Ghanaians have returned home, Malawians, Mozambicans, and the Zimbabweans have returned home. But whites are remaining in South Africa. At the end of the day, after black being, all of them being taken out, it will be black South Africans against white people. And that's where the point is. So the world will say, there is white genocide. We need to protect this small group. And the only solution to protect white people is to divide a country into two countries. A country that is owned by whites so that they can live in safe environment, they can be protected, and the country of black who are killing fellow Africans, who are killing white people.
If you're a Christian thinking about starting a business, don't. Starting a business is a terrible idea.
That's how the world will look like. That's the image that is being created. And I want fellow Africans, black South Africans, to know this. Maybe you don't know this. You are good people, but few group that is sponsored and paid. Even themselves, maybe they don't know the mission, but this is the mission. Take this from me. This is the mission. Maybe it will happen in your lifetime or not in your lifetime, but this will happen. So for whites, because whites are not being taken to Europe, they will stay in South Africa. For them to stay in a safe way is to divide a country, is for these whites to have their own country. So the mission will be complete. The mission will be complete. At that time, these black will not have support from the rest of the continent. Why? Because they have already destroyed the image in African countries. They have chased Nigerians, they have chased the Zimbabweans, they have chased the Mozambicans, the Ugandans, the Ghanaians, and others. So they will not get support from even African Union. I'm saying this because recently, Ghana and Nigeria have united to take the motion of xenophobia against South Africa to the African Union. So black South Africans will have no support from fellow Africans. So it will be easy for Western powers, America, Europe, to support their friends, whites in South Africa, and the country will be created. The way Israel were created. I mean, it was created. The way Israel was created. That's how white South Africans will acquire the country. Of course, they have already proposed Cape exit. You remember that? They want the Western Cape to become an independent country. So to achieve the Western Cape to become an independent country, they need to create environment where the world will appreciate and say, these people, it's true, they need to be independent because they're being killed, they're being attacked, they need to be safe. That is agenda number 3. And agenda number 1, I'll come to agenda number 2 after agenda number 1. Agenda number 1 is the foundation of the success of agenda number 3 of creating white country in South Africa. Agenda number 1 is to change the minds of majority South Africans instead of demanding the land. So we want to own our country. So in order for us to own our country, we need to continue to hold the land. So instead of black South Africans focusing on how they can share the land with white people, they need to focus somewhere else. They are losing focus. Instead of looking on the land, we want to create our own country, the country that has resources. If you talk about the land, you talk about minerals, you talk about agriculture, you talk about investment, infrastructures, water, and everything. So for we to have our own country that is rich, we don't want to share the land. But these people want to share the land. So agenda number 1 is to change the minds and to change the focus of black majority in South Africa to look on the land. Instead, they have to look on other Africans. Because if we allow them to demand the land, it means we divide the land, we share the land. Our agenda number 3, to create our own country, we find that it will be difficult to create our own country because these people have already, of course, living in the land. Of course, they have invested, they have families. So we don't need to allow these people to build in their infrastructure, to build their families or their homes in our land, where we will take back and we will take this land and create our own country. So the agenda is to make sure that they are losing focus. Instead of focusing on taking back the land, they're focusing on fellow Africans. So they are leaving the land. The land continues to be in the hands of white minority. 80%, if not 80 or 85% of the land is in the hands of white minority, whom they want to create their own country. And 15% of the land is in the hands of majority, who are black people. You see? So right now, they have succeeded. Agenda number 1 has succeeded because Africans in South Africa are focusing on fellow Africans. They're focusing on Nigerians, Zimbabweans. They're busy moving the streets, finding and searching.
Get your free copy of my new best-selling book, Commercial Real Estate Investing for Beginners. All you have to do is
chasing fellow Africans. Instead of focusing how we can invest, they are busy looking on the street, finding who are Nigerian, who are Ghanaian, who are Zimbabweans. So they're using a lot of time, spending a lot of time searching fellow Africans, hunting fellow Africans, instead of focusing on the land. So agenda number 1 has succeeded. I've succeeded. And agenda number 1 of losing focusing, it creates barrier among black South Africans or Africans in South Africa and Africans in the rest of the continent. So they're just building wall. So agenda number one is also building the wall. And if you build the wall, we go to agenda number two. And agenda number two is to make sure that Africa Continental Free Trade Areas, Agenda 2063, will not come into reality. If you build the wall, it means there's no free movement of people and goods. No one will travel to a country where you don't have a guarantee of its security or her security. So agenda number two is to make sure that Black South Africans will not coordinate with the rest of the continent. They have already created a wall and barrier so that they cannot, if they ask support, they will not get support because they have destroyed the image. So the rest of the continent, they see Black South Africans as people who are bad, people who are not good, people who don't want working together, people who don't want unity. So when it comes, they need support, they will not get support. But whites are getting support from America, from Europe, and somewhere else. But whites, Black South Africans will not get support because they have destroyed fellow Africans in Nigeria, in Ghana, in somewhere else. They will not get support. You see? So Continental Free Trade Area will be cut. No Continental Free Trade Area, no free movement of people and goods, so that you cannot go to South Africa. The relationship between Africans in South Africa and Africans in the continent will be distracted. The aim is to distract. So no business, no anything. So Agenda 2063 will not come true. And behind distraction of Continental Free Trade Area is to make sure that Africans remain dependent. We cannot produce, we cannot process our resources. We'll continue to become the market of the rest of the Western world and Eastern world. Africa is the big market. So for Africa to have Continental Free Trade Area, it means you're talking about transfer of technology, movement of technology, of experts. So they don't want that thing to happen. So Africa will remain dependent. If you are dependent, you will become weak. And if you become weak, you'll be controlled. And if you become divided, you create poverty. Poverty, you create insecurity. Insecurity, that's what you see in the continent of Africa. And after being cut, the relationship between Africa in the continent and Africa and South Africa, and that's where we go to agenda number 3, the agenda of whites to create their own country. I think you understand. Maybe I didn't explain it very well, but that is the mission. The mission is to make sure that white South Africans are going to create their own country. That's the agenda of xenophobia. And to create their own country, the country that will own all minerals and resources in South Africa. And that's why whites are not going to Europe. They are staying. But to Black people, Africans are returning back home. So, dear lovely family, brothers and sisters, those are just my thoughts. Those are just my opinions. I'm just thinking. Maybe I'm trying to move out of the box, to think without the box, to see the future, to why these things is happening. And of course, to warn fellow Africans in South Africa on this matter. You see, right now, Ghana and Nigeria is fighting compliant to the African Union against South Africa. So this is how the things is moving on. But it's not true, maybe. Those are just speculations, but those are just my thoughts, and that's how I think, and that's how I feel, and that's how I see. It doesn't mean it is a reality. If you have something different, you may share with me in the comment section. Also, you may share this video to other Africans to understand what is their thoughts, what they think about this. So, family, brothers and sisters, let me say, have a nice time. See you next time in other videos. We are Africans. We must love one another. We must support each other. Unity is our only salvation. Without unity, we are going nowhere. Let us preach unity, love, and hope. Thank you.
When we talk about the Kissinger report, okay, we all know Henry Kissinger, right? I've spoken about the Kissinger report here for some time now. And sometimes when I, in particular, let me speak for myself now, when I, in particular, talk about the atrocities that the American government has committed to different countries around the world, and most in particular to the African country, because I am African living in Africa. When I talk about this, many of you in America, melanated Americans, you feel awkward, you feel angered, you feel like, why am I talking all the time about Trump and his administration? Why am I talking about the American government? The American government had never meant well for any melanated community. Even you there, presently in America, they don't mean well for you. There might be policies that might have been implemented. And prior to the implementation of these policies in America, a good number of Black people lost their life for those policies to be implemented. Okay, so it wasn't like they gave you freedom free of charge. You had to pay with your blood. You have to force the respect. And even up until this time, it's still not giving 100% to you. And so when I talk against the American government, it is because there is every of their actions towards African countries is not for the good of the African country. And we can see it evidence in all our dealings. Recently, when the Sahel nation in Burkina Faso in particular cut off diplomatic ties, the American diplomats in Faso started trying their best to see that they are in good books with Faso's government, Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso, you all might be like, what is Burkina Faso, right? But your government is trying to see that they are in the good books of the government so that the government don't chase them out. So if America is for the good of Africa, poor Africa that don't have food, you bring, aid to Africa. Without your aid, they tell you, without your aid, Africa cannot survive. Okay? Now, why is the diplomat trying their best to see that they are not getting kicked out? These are facts. I've spoken about this before now, all right? So when you look into the system of the American government, it is not a system that has been created to respect the dignity of the Black man, especially the African. The American government can go to any length to do anything as far as it's for the interest of the Americans. And in that report, it is written clearly that they can go to any length as far as the interest of the American is upheld. And if you look at Donald Trump, that is his agenda. His agenda is America first. America first strategy.
I met this gentleman, a professor.
Never, and I mean never, ask, how was your weekend?
How was your weekend? How's the weather? How's everything going?
This gentleman told him that he knew why we were out. We wanted to get support and sympathy for Nigeria and to explain the federal cause to the international community. And he explained that the international community was not particularly interested in Nigeria as such. All that people were interested in were our resources. And he even went further to say, if we could get robots to exploit your resources for us to develop our economies, we wouldn't mind the whole lot of you being eliminated. But, he said, in the case of Nigeria, there is a difference. And the difference is that Nigerians are very hardworking and very intelligent. And they have got resources, most of which they know next to nothing about. If this country, Nigeria, with all these resources, both human and material, was to have an uninterrupted period of 20 years of peace and stability, it would be another Japan. Because these intelligent, hardworking Nigerians would come to know about their resources, they would use their intelligence and work hard and exploit those resources and develop the economy. A developing economy needs a market, he said. In our own case, you have no problem with the market. Your population is large enough to provide the market that you need. And even without that, the Nigerian market is the entire West African region and beyond. So you will have no problem with the market. Therefore, if you are given an uninterrupted period of 20 years of peace and stability, you would become another Japan, you would threaten our economy, you would be a thorn in our flesh. That was the view of this professor in 1967. And he therefore ended by saying that even after the Civil War, we will not allow you to rest. We will create one problem after another for you. Knowing this, therefore, I feel that in spite of our shortcomings, which I must admit we have, that is a kind of orchestrated campaign against Nigeria so that it may not emerge the economic giant that it is destined to be.
That man was Alhaji Yusuf Maitama Sule, Dan Masani Kano, former Nigerian diplomat, former minister, former representative of this country to the United Nations. He was not a conspiracy theorist. He was not a blogger. He was not a man on the street. He was one of the most distinguished statesmen this country ever produced. And what he just told you, a professor said it to him in 1967 during the Civil War. If we could get robots to exploit your resources, we won't mind if the whole lot of you were eliminated. Quote and unquote. If Nigeria gets 20 years of peace and stability, it will become another Japan. You would threaten our economies. You would be a thorn in our own flesh. So after this civil war, we will not allow you to rest. We will create one problem after another for you. That was 1967, guys. 7 years later, they wrote it down. It becomes a policy in the United States of America. The plan they wrote down, the Kissinger reports, and the doctrine to keep Nigeria poor. Guys, it became a doctrine. Their children yet unborn is going to read that report, read that doctrine, and make use of it. What are Nigerians doing? Part 1, the document. In December 1974, inside the highest corridor of American power, a 250-page classified document was completed. It was called National Security Study, Memorandum 200. But history knows it by another name, the Kissinger Report. Named after Henry Kissinger, who was at the time both National Security Advisor and Secretary of State to the United States of America. This was not a small paper. This document was produced by the collaboration of the CIA, the United States Department of State, the Departments of Defense, the Department of Agriculture. I need you to pay attention to all these departments. The United States Agency for International Development, USAID. This was America's entire national security apparatus, sitting down together, writing a plan. And the title of that plan, Implications of Worldwide Population Growth for U.S. Security and Overseas Interests. They kept it secret for 15 years. It was only declassified in 1989, made public in 1990. And when the world saw what was inside, people were stunned. Because this was not a development plan. This was not a humanitarian document. This was a targeting list. Part 2. Nigeria was on that list. Out of every country on this earth, they identified 13 nations as the most critical targets. Nations whose population growth and resources wealth pose what they called a threat to American security and overseas interests. Let me read you that list. India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, Turkey, Egypt, Ethiopia, Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, and Nigeria. The only country in West Africa, the only country named specifically on the African continent by name.
You probably remember Michael Burry, the investor who saw 2008 coming before almost anyone else. who bet against the entire U.S. housing market.
Why Nigeria do? Let them tell you in their own words. The Kissinger report said, and I am quoting, that Nigeria was already the most populous country on the continent, and that its growing population suggests a growing political and strategic role for Nigeria, at least in Africa south of the Sahara. Translation: Nigeria is becoming too powerful, and we need to stop that. Part 3, what they were afraid of. Now, let me explain to you exactly what they were worried about. Because when you understand their fear, you will understand everything that has happened to this country since 1970. Fear number 1, your oil. The 1970s was the era when Nigeria's oil wealth was exploding. Nigeria had joined OPEC. The petrodollar system was new, and Nigeria sat on some of the richest crude oil deposits on the planet. The Kissinger report was very clear. America depended on the natural resources of developing countries for its own economy, and it was afraid, deeply afraid, that if those countries became powerful, they would control their own resources. In their words, the smooth flow of material from countries like Nigeria to the United States could be disrupted. Smooth flow of materials. That is what they call your oil, your minerals, your gas, materials, and the flow had to remain smooth into American hands. Fear number 2, your population. Here is the logic that sounds like madness, but it is written in a government document. They said, if Nigeria's population grows too large, Nigerians will consume more of their own oil and resources at home, which means less of it flows to America. So your people, your children, we are seen as a threat to American resource access. More Nigerians equals more Nigerians who might demand their own resource for themselves, less oil for America. This is why population control became U.S. foreign policy. Fear number 3, your potential. And this is the one that should make your blood run cold. The professor told Maitama Sule, give Nigeria 20 years of peace, and it becomes another Japan. The Kissinger report said the same thing in different words. A growing, politically powerful Nigeria would develop a growing politically and strategic role in Africa south of the Sahara. They saw what Nigeria could become, and they decided it must not be allowed to happen. Part 4, the plan, how to keep Nigeria weak. So what did they plan to do about it? The Kissinger report laid out a strategy, and I want you to listen to each part because I want you to recognize it, not as history, as your current reality. Stage 1, population control, disguised as humanitarian aid. The report said that the United States should fund family planning programs in target countries, including Nigeria, through organizations that would hide America's role. I will quote directly from the documents. The involvement of multilateral agencies, meaning the UN, the World Bank, would help to conceal, to hide the US role and purpose. They deliberately designed this to look like charity, USAID, UNFPA, World Bank health programs. They sent contraceptives. They funded clinics. They tied their foreign aid to acceptance of family planning program. When Nigeria refused to comply with certain Western reproductive policy, guess what happened? America withdrew the military aid Nigeria needed to fight Boko Haram. Let that sit with you. They withheld the weapons needed to protect Nigerian children because Nigeria would not participate in limiting the number of Nigerian children born. Strategy 2, keep them politically unstable. The report noted that large youth population in target countries were dangerous because, and I quote, young people can more readily be persuaded to challenge the established order. Translation, young Nigerians who are angry about poverty might rise up and take control of their own resources. The solution, keep the country in enough chaos that no serious governance or economic development can take roots. The professor told Maita Masule in 1967, we will create one problem after another. After the Civil War ended in 1970, what did Nigeria get? Military coups in 1966, 1975, 1976, 1983, 1985, 1993. Structural adjustment program that destroyed the Naira. Oye Bonkri and Niger Delta militancy. Boko Haram in the north. Banditry, kidnapping, insecurity. The EFCC and corruption scandals that never ends. One problem after another.
If I die tomorrow, my family inherits 2.5 million. Not debt, not a mortgage, actual.
Strategy 3. Control the economy through institutions. The Kissinger report recommended using the World Bank and IMF to enforce compliance. Countries that needed loans, and Nigeria has always been made to need loans, would be required to adopt policies that served Western interests. Structural adjustment programs. Privatization of national assets. Currency devaluation. Removal of subsidies. Does any of this sound familiar? Part 5. The mirror. Where are you in this? Now I need to stop because we can spend all day talking about what America did or are doing. But Maita Masuli himself said something that this documentary is really about. He said, there is an orchestrated campaign against Nigeria. Yes, he admitted that. But he also said, in spite of our shortcomings, which I must admit we have, it did not excuse Nigeria, and neither will I. Because here is the truth that is harder to hear than anything I have said so far. The Kissinger report cannot succeed without Nigerian help. Think about it. You cannot keep a country poor if that country is united. You cannot keep a country resources flowing out if that country's leaders protect them. You cannot keep a country unstable if its citizens refuse to fight each other. So let me ask you to look in the mirror. The politician who steals the money meant for road, for schools, for hospitals. You are doing their job for them. Every naira stolen from the public is a naira that kept Nigeria weak. The Kissinger report counted on Nigerians' leaders putting themselves before their country. You are fulfilling the prophecy. The citizens who vote for a man because he is from your tribe, your religion, your geopolitical zone, and not because of his capacity to govern. You are doing their job for them. They need you divided. Ethnicity is the tool. You are picking it up and handing it to them. The Nigerian abroad who looks down on Nigeria, who says this country can never work, who moves their wealth out and never invests back. You are doing their job for them. Capital flight from Nigeria feeds the very economies that wrote this document. The young Nigerian who is only angry on social media, but will not vote, will not organize, will not hold the streets. You are doing their job for them. They feared your numbers. They feared your anger becoming organized. So they gave you data and a phone. And you use it to entertain yourself while the country burns. And even those of us who consume foreign media, foreign culture, foreign validation without question, we are doing their job for them. The mind colonized cannot build a free nation. The professor told Maita Masuli, they wouldn't even need to eliminate you. They just need to make sure you never rest long enough to build. And we keep disturbing our own rest.
So do you now have an understanding, maybe a little, of maybe the reason why you see some of us are always trying to see to the interest of Africa as well, because America always see to the interest of America. They don't care whether the other human is unalived or passes on, but their interest is America first, and others can go to hell. And the painful thing here is that the same American government that has this report that it has been exposed and everything is the same government that posed like a savior. And Africans have not learned, like she said. If the Africans are ready, if Nigerians are ready, this thing will not come to pass. But because they are okay, they trust, that's the thing. Trusting the wrong person. And some of us who have grown to have understanding of the system have lack of trust. But the ones that are still sleeping trust 100% that American government is their savior. And that is why you see the average Nigerian will be waiting for Trump to come and save them from chaos that obviously they had masterminded. Because the more confused you are, you don't have interest in your resources, you don't have interest in your own development, and then they will have opportunity to keep milking up. What do you think? I hope you did watch up until this time. Leave your thoughts and opinion there in the section. Remember that I love you, love yourself, love others, stay safe, stay positive, always, Your Majesties. Bye for now.
Okay, this is our last one.
Why are some people suddenly trying to rewrite colonial history? It's a question worth asking.
Wasn't King Leopold like a real, I mean, my conception, he's a real, just a true nasty son of a, he's like chop off.
No, all wrong. In fact, I have an article, one of the chapters is called In Defense of Leopold's Congo. Now, King Leopold's Congo managed to create a railway up into the central part of the country and certain amount of stability by stopping slave trading and intertribal warfare with a very thin amount of people, very few, right? Still vastly unexplored. And as a result of that, population probably slightly increased. Maybe there was a decrease because of the rise of sleeping sickness and some endemic diseases that were coming in. But basically, it was an amazingly positive contribution to the people of the Congo.
Okay, now that you've heard some BS, let's debunk this. Leopold II is widely regarded by historians as one of the most brutal colonial rulers in modern history because of what happened in the Democratic Republic of the Congo during his personal rule over the Congo Free State from 1885 to 1908. One of the atrocities historically associated with his regime was forced labor and robber terror. Leopold turned the Congo into a massive forced labor colony focused on extracting rubber and ivory. Congolese people were forced to meet impossible rubber quotas. Villages that failed to produce enough rubber were often burned down, attacked by soldiers, starved, or had hostages taken. Men were forced deep into forests for weeks, collecting rubber while families suffered back home. There were mass killings during Leopold II. The colonial army, known as the Force Publique, used extreme violence to terrorize the population into obedience. Historical records describe, and I'll say this again, historical records show that there were executions, massacres, public beatings, and killings of civilians. Some historians estimate that millions of Congolese died during Leopold's rule due to murder, famine, disease, overwork, and population collapse. Estimates vary widely, but many commonly cite figures around 10 million deaths, though exact numbers remain debated among scholars. The debate is not that people didn't lose their lives. The debate is that whether it's 10 million or above 10 million. One of the cruel ways King Leopold II treated Congolese people was through cutting of hands, which there's pictures and images, and scholars and historians back this up because this didn't happen 1,000 years ago. It happened recently, and we have evidence, even though some people want to rewrite history. One of the most infamous symbols of Leopold's cruelty in Congo was that soldiers were required to account for bullets used during operations to prove bullets had not been wasted. Soldiers often cut off the hands of dead victims. In many documented cases, hands were also cut off from living people as punishment or terror. Photographs from that era shocked the world and became evidence in international campaigns against Leopold's rule. Oh, but that's not the only thing. Hostages were being taken. Colonial agents regularly kidnapped women and children to force villages to meet rubber quotas. Families were imprisoned until the men returned with enough rubber. Many hostages died from abuse, starvation, or disease.
Too quiet? Turn your sound from 100% to 600% with Sound Pulse. Just hit Add to Chrome. It installs in seconds. Click the icon. Boost the volume.
But there was one thing different about King Leopold II. When you compare it with his fellow colonizers. Unlike many colonies run directly by a state, the Congo Free State was effectively Leopold's private possession. Huge wealth extracted from the Congo funded grand buildings and projects in Belgium, while Congolese people suffered extreme exploitation. While this man is trying to rewrite history, by the way, he is, I believe, a Canadian-American professor of some sort. When he's trying to do this, back in the days, his own people, Westerners, and some that have, I don't know, conscience, heart, they are the ones that blew the whistle and pushed for some change to happen. Missionaries, journalists, and activists eventually exposed the atrocities, and one major figure was E.D. Morel, who helped lead an international human rights campaign against Leopold's regime. Roger Casement also documented abuses in what became known as the Casement Report. The global scandal became one of the first major international human rights movements of the 20th century. Yeah, there's evidence, receipts, photographs. People exposed this when it happened. As I said earlier, this didn't happen a long time ago where we didn't have access to what was happening. It was 1908 when the pressure was building on Leopold and Belgium. So, it's like, what, yesterday? So this man wants to convince us and the world that it was not that bad. Actually, it might have been a good thing, right? He brought some kind of civilization to the Democratic Republic of Congo, or that region for that matter. Be very careful with people that are trying to rewrite history, especially history that did not belong to them, history that is ours, and they want to tell us, or they want to tell the victims that it was not that bad. Understanding what happened in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and across Africa during colonialism is important, not because people should live in hatred or revenge, but because truth matters. Historical truth shapes how societies understand themselves, their struggles, and their future. But you know what the funny thing is? When it comes to other atrocities that happen somewhere else in the world, and we all know which ones, they are respected, they are talked about, they are seen as atrocities. That shouldn't have happened to our people. But when it comes to Africans, it's a different story. You should get over it. It was not that bad. This thought process is harmful because, for one, history needs to be remembered the way it happened. Truth matters because it will determine your future, but also it helps explain why we are where we are in the present day. Anyways, fam, let me know down below what your thoughts are about this rewriting history by a professor. I'm Ongil Zalalam. I'll see you on the next one. Stay blessed. Bye.
And that's going to conclude our program for today. Peace and blessings. And see you all on Saturday.